Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution? Or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tar Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on Om Times Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. And today we're going to talk about something completely different, totally different, very different. And we're going to talk about what really matters about real estate. And I was very intrigued by our guest, who is highly qualified. I was very intrigued because I know very little about real estate, and I know even less about real estate in the U.S., and so our guest today, Matt Parker, he's a real estate broker who has studied the interpersonal and emotional effects your real estate has on your life. Our relationships with our real estate have changed, and we need to be conscious about what decisions our homes make for us in our relationships with our loved ones, including our significant others. It's really important that we talk about real estate because we live in them, and it's a big part of our lives. And, of course, a big part of our money goes towards the upkeeping of our real estate. So let me talk a little bit more about my guest today. Matt Parker is a real estate broker in Seattle, Washington, USA, having contributed to regional and national print and television real estate media since 2008, including CNN, U.S. News and World Report, Forbes, The Street Journal, the Boston Globe, and the National Association of Realtors. He is the author of the Real Estate Sales Secret, a 2015 best real estate book, and a book that has been ranked number 1 on Amazon in the real estate sales category, namely Real Estate Smart and the Real Estate Agent Talks. His professional sales projects include residential, commercial, waterfront, multi-family, and agricultural. And he spends his time teaching new real estate agents and coaching youth sports. And we'll find out more about Matt as we go on during the show. He graduated magna cum laude from Western Washington University in Bellingham, and he was awarded a 5-star professional Seattle Best Real Estate Agents 7 times, and is a member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. And also he is also a certified luxury home marketing specialist and a member of the $1 Million Cloud. So his website is mattcparker.com. So welcome to the show, Matt.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. So thanks so much for making the time and coming onto today's show, talking to us about real estate. So tell us more. I'm very interested to find out how you actually got into real estate. It's very obvious from your profile that you're really passionate about it.
Yeah, I got into real estate after sales careers in professional sports on the West Coast of the United States. And then I graduated from that, and I wanted a freer form of sales where I could have more impact on the product I was selling and the people I was interacting with. So I went to real estate because that seemed like definitely the freest form of sales to me, and still does to this day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you say you have studied interpersonal and emotional effects of real estate. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think we tend to have this idea that real estate is a large-scale material item, something that we buy and just have, but it's the opposite with relation to our life. It really affects everything that we do, think, and feel throughout the course of the day. So it's really important to consider a lot of the large effects your real estate has on you that may pronounce themselves in smaller ways. So and it's very obvious that you sleep in your real estate, but from simple things like your commuting to the views outside your windows make a very, very large impact in how you interact with the people in your household, people that may come to your house and interact with your business interactions throughout the course of the day. that has a huge effect on all those things.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. How about the other aspect of managing the assets that you have, and like the amount of money people spend towards the mortgage and things like that?
Yeah, I find probably the biggest mistake people make when they buy real estate is that they buy to the max of their loan ability and not remembering that maintaining a home costs 40% as much as your monthly mortgage payment. So if your mortgage payment was $2,000 every month, you still are going to have another $800 a month in ongoing upkeep and maintenance and utilities. So then what happens is you become bound by your house, and if the market reverts like we saw in 2008 through 2011, basically then you can be stuck in a place for a long time that may not have been right for you, or may have been dictated by a previous relationship or previous job, and you can really find yourself locked into a position you don't want to be in. So I definitely encourage people to spend far under their maximum loan ability. And I know there's a little bit of a trick with that nowadays because the larger cities are definitely costly to live in.
This is really, really good advice. So what you're saying is people should not buy to the maximum loan. Then what should they buy to? Is there a percentage that you would recommend your clients to?
Yeah, what I recommend people do is make a lifestyle budget. And a lot of people figure their paycheck and then the amount they can afford for housing every month and food and maybe insurance and some other bills. I encourage people to do the opposite, which is sit down and add up the things that you have to have in your life to live your best life. And when you really do that, you're going to find some different things in there. For example, for my wife and I, having a vacation part of our budget is very, very important. For us, having fitness portions of our budget is very, very important. And for us, eating healthy food, which tends to be more costly, that's very, very important. So we work at the opposite. We sit down and we say, what things do we want in our life? How much is that going to cost? Then how much do we have left for our mortgage payment? And, it's not exactly that simple. It's a balancing act. But the key idea is that you don't want to cut out one aspect of your life and harm others even more by doing that. So you want to be balancing all the different things that are important for your overall well-being.
I love this. I really love what you're saying, because different people value different things in their lives, and what you've done is you've been able to articulate very quickly what is important to you: healthy food, travel, and then you work backwards towards what's left and what you can pay towards your mortgage. That's really good advice, and I think we get caught out with keeping up with the Jones. We look at what other people have and then we want it, but we don't really think about what is realistic for us. So coming from someone like you, that's really important. Real estate is emotional, as you mentioned. So I would like to maybe talk about some of the pitfalls that people should be avoiding other than looking into their mortgage amount, and also the amount that they need to budget towards managing their property. So what else should they be looking into?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing that most people understand, although they may not have the depth of understanding that they need to have, is that commuting is really, really hard on people. The average American commute time for someone nowadays is almost an hour a day. So the average American worker is spending almost an hour a day in their car going to and from work. And multiple studies have showed that the health effects of this are great, and not just, being really torqued off in your car because someone cut you off every day, but we're talking about knee problems, back problems, neck problems, weight problems, stress problems, and we can imply from that too that would affect your overall health with regard to long-term diseases like potentially cancer and heart disease and diabetes. So your commute time is is really, really important. So I really encourage people to start with an area that's going to work for all the facets of their life and minimizes the commute for the people that are driving every day, and making it reasonable and at least enjoyable. I know people that live, I live in Seattle, Washington, so I know that people that live far away from the city, but maybe one of them bikes to work and really enjoys that and really gets fitness out of it. So that's a happy compromise for that person. But if he couldn't do that, I think he would be really upset with his commute, and it would really impact the other facets of his life. And we all know how that works. I mean, if you go to work all day, then you have a long commute, and then you go to the grocery store and you didn't get your personal time in, or space, or yoga, or fitness, or whatever it might have been, then, you can imagine how we interact with our loved ones. And those are the people we really want to be fresh for at the end of the day. So for whatever people can do, I think commuting plays a much larger role in your overall happiness than people might know. And if you ever buy a house that doesn't, or live in a city that doesn't have a monster commute, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It really changes your day-to-day lifestyle and your relationships that you have. So that's one example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for this, really. Because I'm from Singapore, it's a small city, and we don't really have that big commuting problem. But I do travel, and I see my friends who have to drive 1 hour to work into the city, and they stay on the outskirts because it's much cheaper. And so this is something that's very real for people in the U.S. particularly, and it's really important what you're talking about, which is at least the commute should be enjoyable and it should be reasonable. So we have a break, and we're going to come back after this and speak more with Matt Parker.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. And my name is Martha. I'm a clinical sexologist based in Singapore. And I'm from Eros Coaching. That's eroscoaching.com. You are listening to this show on the Om Times Radio Network, and you can share this show with your friends right now by going to the link omtimes.com/mobile. With this link, your friends will be able to listen to this show without needing to download any app. That's really cool, convenient, and it's compatible with Androids and with iPhones. We are with Matt Parker. He's a real estate agent who is in Seattle, Washington. He's award-winning, and he's contributed to regional and national print and television real estate. And his book, The Real Estate Sales Secret, is one of the was ranked number one on Amazon in the real estate category. And so you definitely want to check out his work. He can be found at mattcparker.com. Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So I really like what you've been sharing with us so far, talking about what we should be looking out in terms of our mortgage budget, in terms of the management of our real estate, and also commuting time. Is there anything else you would like to share?
You've asked me some great questions, and I think another thing that's important for people to consider with their homes is that people spend the majority of their waking hours in their kitchen or the room adjoining the kitchen. So you really, really want to make sure that you enjoy those spaces. Those are spaces you want to put your money in. You want to buy property that has good kitchen space. And you want to make sure, too, that the views from your kitchen are as aesthetic as they can be. You know, as an extreme example, you wouldn't want the windows from your kitchen looking out at a brick wall. As much green or open space or animal life as you can see is really going to have an impact on the mood that you have when you're in your kitchen. And again, that's where you spend most of your time. So, yeah, I would encourage people to get kitchens that they like, and most people try to do that anyways, but it is important to your health.
Yeah, so I didn't cook. I don't cook, and I haven't cooked for the longest time in my life until recently. I learned that it's true. You can laugh because I live with my parents, and in Singapore you live with your parents if you're single or unmarried or whatever reason you know property is really expensive. Rent is also very expensive. So a lot of people just live with their parents, and so I don't cook. And it's only recently when I was doing house sitting, started cooking, that I really, really realized that it's actually fun to cook, and it's joy, and it's therapeutic, and there's all these wonderful benefits. So I really love the space I was in when I was doing the food preparation, and so I really get what you mean by the kitchen is somewhere that we spend a lot of time in, because there's all this food prep, and your mood affects your food, and I definitely can see that. So on that tangent about people who live with their parents, is this something that's getting more common in the U.S. as real estate becomes more expensive?
We saw a lot of that statistically when the market was poor in 2008 through 2010, and not just kids living with their parents, but more extended family members living with other family members, brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles. And as the economy improves, that tends to go away, and then as the economy gets worse, that increases again. So right now it doesn't seem to be a major trend, but it could be, because we don't know what we're in for with the new political environment and what housing is going to be like. And the housing market is at its highest point ever in the United States. It just tied its all-time record for the Case-Shiller Index. So things are really good right now. We hope they stay that way. But if they don't, people could spend more time living with their families again.
I see. So what do you personally predict or anticipate?
With regard to?
With regards to what's going to happen with the real estate market with this new political climate? Yeah.
People have to be in a good mood to buy a house. You have to be excited to buy a house. It's a lot of time and energy. It's a lot of stress, and it's a lot of money. Right now, I think there's a lot of people that are very upset and worried about what the future holds. And I'm a real estate agent. I hope that sales are good. I hope that things are great. But, there's a tremendous amount of energy and emotion that goes into a real estate purchase. So that energy, I think, needs to be brought back to a stasis and a positive level for the current sales to remain how they are, because I think there's a lot of people that are frustrated and worried right now about what's going to happen. And like I said, we did just touch the highest point ever for the Case-Shiller Index, which is the measurement of housing prices in the U.S. And so, it seems like you couldn't continue to see 5 to 10% increases year after year and have people be able to afford it. So, for things to continue on this pace seems unlikely, but we don't know how they would level off or how abruptly or if things would turn backwards, which certainly that's not something we hope for.
Yeah, I definitely sense the anxiety that is happening in the U.S. Even we're here in Singapore, all my friends are complaining, grieving, crying, and angry. All these really quite negative emotions that are coming up for people, and so this is a worrying time for people in the U.S. I feel. And on that note, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I live in a relatively liberal city, and it's crushing to a lot of people that I know. And having said that, though, I think that the younger generations identify that we need to unite with each other and move forward, because no matter who sits in a fancy house and a small state in our country, we're the ones that dictate the future. We're the leaders. Those people work for us, and it's up to us to get along with each other and move the world forward. We're the masses, and we have to do it. So I intend to galvanize my generation and move forward with them, no matter if they're blue people or red people, and how they vote and how they feel. And I think we need to pay attention to the anger that created the outcome of this election, because it's obviously a very real thing. And a lot of them come from people that I know and respect and like. So Generation Y, or whatever they want to call us, millennials, need to galvanize and move forward. And I think this could be a galvanizing moment for us.
Yeah, there are people who are also talking about the spiritual aspect from this election, and how exactly what you say, people are galvanizing together, people are coming together and talking about what they could do to make their country better, or how this is affecting their advocacy work, and they are already preempting any kind of fallout that could happen. So actually what this has done is actually, beyond the grieving, is actually starting to make people stronger, I feel.
I agree with you.
So I'm curious for you personally, because you do quite a fair amount of community work, teaching new real estate agents and coaching young people in sports. You're very much connected with the community in Seattle, I imagine.
I'm not currently coaching a team. I haven't coached in a couple seasons, but when I can get involved, I do. And recently I did work for the Clinton campaign in Florida to bring people out to vote. And so I do try and stay in touch with the community, because one thing I think we realize with what's happened recently is you have to associate yourself with people of all opinions, all demographics, all races, and all preferences. If you just hang out with your friends, even if you think your friends are really cool and really educated, you just get a small sliver of the way that the world is feeling. So diversity in friend groups, I think, is really, really important. I think it's important to have people around you that disagree with you and hold different opinions, because you can challenge each other and move forward. And you can also perfect dialogue of disparate agreements and how we can talk to each other about those sorts of things. Because at our cores, we all want the same things. We all want safety. We all want the love of our family members. We all want prosperity. We all want happiness. We all want a clean environment. It's just the semantics of how we've divided up how we're going to go at those things that's really started to tear people apart. So like I said, I'm excited about moving forward with millennials and Generation Y and taking this energy and turning it into something good, because what we were shown by the Obama administration is no matter how much hope there is, the White House can only do so much. It's up to you and me talking on this radio show from different nations, up to us to move the world forward.
Thank you so much for what you're sharing. I I really respect you for what you're saying. That it's important to respect people who are different from us and to appreciate diversity and to have different kinds of people in our lives so that we have different perspectives. And I think this is a way in which we can stay connected, stay relevant, and that we can grow as people in the community. And what you're also saying is being able to influence change and make an impact. And this is very obvious from reading your profile because you have been top in your class at Western Washington University and be awarded many times as one of Seattle's best real estate agents. And so you play with people who are also very accomplished in real estate. So I can see how that kind of attitude would get you far. And so once again, repeating the importance of being able to appreciate diversity and being able to exercise tolerance and acceptance for what's going on in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to draw attention to a group of people who, for whatever reason, felt alienated in the United States right now. And that is what, a lot of people would say is an angry group of people and then maybe say negative things about them. But there's some reality exists for these people that led to their voting decisions. And that group of people needs to be respected and listened to, too, even if we have to be the mature ones to sit down with them and foster partying and having a good time and listening to each other, because we've all got to get this done together, and there's a lot of us now, so we need to find ways to bridge the gap between the masses.
Yeah, I respect you for saying this, and definitely agree that there needs to be patience and acceptance. So we have a break, and we'll come back and talk more with Matt Parker.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
And I'm Susan Schuler.
And I'm Carrie Ann Larson.
And we are
the Psychic Angel Channelers
from Angel Talk Tuesday.
Tune in every week at 10 a.m. Eastern on OmTimesRadio.com.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Bathe in a beautiful vibrational frequency to help you heal, expand, and remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
What's up? This is Brad
and Mike from Lincoln Park for Life Beat, the music industry fights AIDS. Listen up, times are tough and you get a lot of things thrown your way. If you're being pressured to have sex and you're not ready, then say no. If you're having sex, be smart and use protection. Respect yourself and protect yourself.
For more information, call the National AIDS Hotline at 1-800-342-AIDS or log on to www.lifebeat.org.
And this is Eros Evolution on the Om Times Radio Network, and we're talking with Matt Parker, who's a real estate broker in Seattle, Washington. Today we're talking about what really matters about real estate. And you can find Matt at mattcparker.com. He has this award-winning book called The Real Estate Sales Secrets that you may want to check out on Amazon. Matt is also an avid outdoor adventurist, and he is also a stand-up paddle athlete, and he's basically traveled around the world, rafted in the Grand Canyon, trekked in the Amazon jungle, and in Machu Picchu, and Costa Rica, and all these other places that I can't pronounce the names to. So Matt, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself, maybe your personal interests with sports?
Yeah, my passion has never gone far from my childhood roots of playing around in the mud and the dirt and the sand and the sky when I was a kid. So that's still my hobby, and thank God I have a wife that loves doing that with me now. And so, yeah, when it comes to my hobbies, I'm still just a big kid, and I love adventure, and I love learning about new sports, and I've been lucky to take that all over the world competitively and also passionately as hobbies. So absolutely love getting outdoors, and still some of my favorite things to do are paddle surfing and hiking on the west coast of the United States. It's just gorgeous. I love it.
Beautiful. I'm happy for you that you have a wife who is supportive of your interests, because that can be a real source of tension if you're an outdoor person and she's not, and that limits the number of things that you can do together. So it's really nice to hear that you've also mentioned your wife twice now. And how long have you been married?
Yeah, we actually got married last Valentine's Day, so I'm new in the game. We've been together about 5 years now, and it's been way better than I thought it would be, actually. I heard horror stories from my friends, and people had told me the first year of marriage was really difficult, but for us it's been wonderful, and we can't wait. We're practicing to have a baby right now and want to get that going here.
Beautiful. So I really wish you the best. Like I'm happy to hear that everything's going well with you. So on that note of practicing to have a baby, do you have anything at all that you'd like to share with listeners? Any advice based on your experience being married?
I think our romantic life has been much, much greater since we've been married, and that was one of the things I was always fearful of as a young man, was that somehow marriage was this institution that would decrease those feelings. And for us, it's just gotten a lot greater, I think, and the confidence has grown, and the depth of the feelings is a lot greater. So that's been a pleasant surprise. And I tell some of I still have a lot of single friends, and I tell them that, and I hope they believe me. And I guess for a lot of people, it doesn't turn out to be that way. But, you know, we and my wife and I actively engage in passionate pursuits, you know, try to on a daily basis. And that doesn't necessarily mean romantically, but all the different things that we do. And I think that really consummates an ongoing passion for each other. And, you know, like we were talking about being outdoors and physical fitness and things like that. And it's really a rush for us to do some of those things together and then have that to talk about at the end of the day. And that leads, in my opinion, to a really strong bond physically. I think it's difficult when you're not sharing that type of stuff with each other. So whatever those hobbies and things might be, I think really help us.
Thank you. It's really nice to get to know not just, the Matt Parker who's all accomplished and always in the media. It's also nice to hear about this personal side of you, that you work in your relationship just like everybody, and you also have fears and doubts about being married, and that's vulnerable. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to be honest about that, because they're important processes, and there's a lot in the media about sex and relationships, and I think very little of it has been true in my experience. There's a lot of benefits to a committed relationship that I never imagined, and no one's ever explained to me. So again, I think it's important for those things to be spoken of, because definitely the negatives get brought to the fore.
Okay. So let's bring it back to real estate. So we talk about how Because I think when I think of okay, so there was a time in my life, I'm actually not so proud to actually say this, but there were times in my life where I did study real estate, and I was preparing to be a real estate realtor in Singapore, and so I was dabbling in real estate and working towards being someone like you, being a real estate broker. And there I realized that sales was not my passion and stuff like that. But one of the things that I did learn about real estate during the short time that I did it was that there are times when even though the market is not right, people have had to get rid of properties because they have to, because of things that happen in the family, such as like a family death or a divorce. And these are things that are very emotional that you did mention about. And I'm sure you have had your fair share of clients who have that situation. So is there anything that you want to add to this piece about transitions that force us to get rid of our real estate?
Yeah, I have a huge one that's really important. If you are passing on real estate to your family as a part of your will or your estate or as a gift or as a vacation property or anything like that, you really, really need to not put whoever is inheriting that real estate in the position of having to decide how to deal with it. In other words, if you own a lake property, don't just put your 3 kids' names on it as a result of your will. That's a big mistake, and it almost always ends up in big rifts within a family. So if you're going to give people real estate, I suggest it be given to one person and the other parties be compensated appropriately and fair, even if that includes time at the vacation property or something, because people have very different ethics with regards to how they care for real estate and the money they put into it, who pays the taxes, all those sorts of things. So a really easy way to get your kids fighting is to put both of their names on the title of a property and then pass away. I encourage people not to do that and instead have beneficial conversations about their estate and who will inherit real estate and then how it will be dealt with later, because no amount of money is worth losing your close family relationships, and I've seen that happen too many times.
Yeah, that's a good idea. When you bestow real estate to someone, be specific about how you want it to be dealt with. Otherwise, people fight, and then they are left with this dilemma of what to do with it. So really good advice. Anything else?
That's the hardest. That's the hardest thing to see is families break up over that, and that's definitely the thing I would tell people to avoid. And the same thing if you're on the other end of the spectrum. If you're not married and you are cohabitating with someone, then I encourage the real estate aspect of it to be a business relationship until you are married, until your assets are joined together. Because, for example, if one person owns the home and is making the mortgage payment, and I know this sounds like impossible in a new young love situation, but the other person that's living there should be helping with rent. And that should be spelled out, because what can happen is those things, if they're not done correctly and in a business manner, can make it really hard to get along, and it can make breaking up really hard too. So definitely real estate is, even with your close loved ones, it has to be viewed as a business transaction with details of who's going to get it, how they're going to get it, and what they're going to do with it. And if you honor and love your relationships, you will do that with each other, and you won't have any problems. But if you don't do that, you could end up really hurting some relationships that had potential or were important to you.
Yeah, because by actually stating it in clear writing, you cut out all these misunderstandings and all the negativity that can happen from it. So it's just to protect your your interest and also that of the other person. So I appreciate this other thing that you are sharing right now. So I have a question on Facebook by my friend.
Yeah.
His name is JC, and he's in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how much you know about Vancouver. So in Vancouver, they just imposed taxes on foreign buyers there, and so my friend JC is asking, why are they doing this? Because there's a flow of China investors.
That started some time ago. That started, I think, approximately a decade ago is when those taxes started. And I don't know the exact reason for that happening, but it seems to me that they must have gotten more lately, because I've heard of more and more people pulling their money or not shopping in Vancouver anymore and coming down across the border to Seattle, Washington, where I live. So I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly why that tax was created.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. Because you're like really in the loop of things. So anything that people who are planning to buy real estate in the U.S., they should know about, they should avoid, they should be aware of?
No, we actually, a lot of the laws are state by state, but we actually have a very good system for ensuring that if you buy a property and your name's on title, you're going to get that property. I encourage people to, especially if they're having, I guess it depends where you're taking your income, but accountants are very important in making these decisions, because the amount of money that's won or lost in real estate deals is big. And so if is accounting and taxes to be taken into consideration, and an accountant should be helping you with that. Because it's one thing to make a $1,000 tax mistake. It's another to make $100,000.
Okay. Let's come back and talk more about all these things after the break. I really appreciate all your sharing and your wisdom.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting with your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and tap into that innate potential you have to transform your life and fly high. Please join me, your host Monica Goyal, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
And welcome back to the last 15 minutes of today's show, Eros Evolution. And we are with Matt Parker, and we're talking about what really matters about real estate. And in case you haven't visited his website, mattcparker.com, you definitely want to do that because he is one handsome guy. He is. And he also exercises a lot. And so he also has a good body. So do check out his website. And you can also connect with him on Facebook. That's matt.parker.1000. That's only 1 in 1,000, Matt Parker. And therefore, you want to check out his website. And you probably already know that he's very knowledgeable about all things when it comes to real estate. So if you want to stalk him on Twitter, you can as well. And it's one Matthew C. Parker. In fact, there's only one. So be sure to go check him out. Okay.
Well, that's really funny, and I wanted to correct. I wanted to correct myself on I just looked it up online as we were taking a break there. In Vancouver, the tax was recently imposed, and it was imposed to curtail Chinese buying in Vancouver so that the intention was that the middle class would have an easier time buying housing up there. So there was a 15% tax imposed on foreigners, and the article that I read sounded like the predominant class of foreign buyers was Chinese people, so I think it was specifically against Chinese buyers. And it was 2016. So, but what I was thinking is that the market's been insanely hot up there for the last decade, which it has. But yes, his tax did just begin, and I wanted to correct that.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So we were kind of interrupted because of the break that came up earlier. Is there anything else that you want to share about the state of real estate in U.S.?
No, like I say, it just reached its record high that was previously set on July 1st, 2006, according to the Case-Shiller Index. And things are still moving. We'll see interest rates have started climbing recently, and we'll see what that does to things. But, yeah, things are still very good here.
Okay. Okay, so this show always talks about the link between sex and spirit. And so I'd like to ask what you personally feel is your view or attitude or perspective when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah, I'm definitely a spiritual person, and I connect with that several different times a day, and I think there's lots of ways to do that. And so I think that spirituality is obvious, and it manifests itself all around us all the time, and I think the strongest way of that is through nature. And we have to interact with the world and our air and our water and our fellow animals. And when we abuse any of those things, we, threaten our own lives. So, I think the deity that you might picture in your head when you pray changes based only on where you were born. If you're born in California, your deity would look like one thing. If you're born in Afghanistan or Russia or Brazil, you're going to have different images of that. But we're all looking at a similar creator or creators or however you view it. And one way I think we show respect for that is by respecting that which gives us life and breath and love, and that's the world around us every day. So I'm very conscious of that, and I engage in nature as much as I can because it's an imminent reminder of our connection to the universe, and it's very, very obvious when you indulge in it, and it's what everyone writes about and paints about and has been spoken about for the ages. So that's my view of spirituality.
Thank you so much. That's really, really well said. Really. Because I'm this big city girl, I haven't really had access to as much nature. And it's only when I travel that I really start to appreciate people who are different from me and how they live their lives. And it's really nice to know that because you spend so much time outdoors and you love nature, that you appreciate nature, and you're able to speak of all this really deep wisdom, how nature, when we don't take care of her, it threatens our very life. That is really profound, and a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah, it's pretty, and it's very imminent and obvious, and so I just think we need to be respectful of it. And it was different when the world had an overabundance of resources for everybody, but more and more we have to share, as is evidenced by your life and living in a city and maybe not having as much access to nature. So, we need to take care of each other, and the way we take care of each other is by taking care of our global home.
Wow. That's already a quotable quote.
Well, thanks.
I love it. So we're going to come towards the end of the show, like in a few minutes. I just want to give you the opportunity to do a shout out of anything you want to talk about or anything else that I have not asked you.
Yeah, I think if people are upset or shocked or sad or angry, or even in elation over the recent U.S. election, we have to take that energy and actually do things with it now. We have to walk forward with each other. We have to transform the world that we live in, and we need smart solutions for the future. So whatever pain or elation exists as a result of this election, I ask people to move forward with it and try to understand each other and decide what's important and how you're going to change it in the future. A lot of us are very, very lucky in that we've led very privileged lives, and it could be for young people, like I said, an inception of a whole new generation of people that feels moved to activate and do things in the world. And so I encourage you to do that, and if it's small things, that's probably where we're all going to get started. But all those small efforts are going to build into something bigger down the road. So we have to do it for each other. And if we don't, only more divisiveness will happen. And there's so many stages of that we can take until you start to have more physical conflict, which is not a good thing. So I encourage people to act.
Thank you. It's very interesting to me that instead of choosing to talk about anything, you choose to talk about. You choose to actually put out this message of positivity that we talked during this time. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I've had a great time, and I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that you made the time for this show, and you've really added to the things that I usually don't talk about. I know very little about real estate, and I can really see from your perspective the importance of it, because it is a very emotional decision. It's a big decision, and it consumes a lot of our life. I liked what you talk about, what you can look for when you are looking for real estate, not overcommit in terms of your mortgage, and also relating to the management of the property. I also liked the little things that you talked about, like be aware of your commuting time, and how the kitchen is really important. Like all these things that wouldn't have come up. And for people who are spiritual, sometimes we may not be very practical or very pragmatic with things. And so you have really contributed to this show, because we do need to be thinking about our real estate and how we plan it, and what we are going to live on with our people, in our lives, our children, for instance. And how you talked about when you're not married, that you actually make it clear what's going to happen with that real estate. So having more of a business arrangement, so that you're actually safeguarding your and your partner's best interest. So all these things that you're sharing is really beneficial for listeners. So I really want to appreciate you for taking the time. And once again, do go to Matthew's website. That's mattcparker.com. He's handsome, he's gorgeous, he's well accomplished, and he will be a good resource person if you need advice in real estate. And he's based in Seattle, Washington. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much. I had a great time, and I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. So next week, we're going to have a very, I'm seriously telling you, very different guest. First of all, I will be in transit to Manila, so I can't do my own radio show because my show is always live. And instead, what I'm doing is I'm getting my friend who will be talking about sex, BDSM, minions, and role play. So she is a